All right, Shalom to the elect of Israel. I want to start by giving all the praises, honor, and glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Akakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that were well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. This is going into this, this U.S. Caribbean war. That's going on right now. There's, America's presence, is in the Caribbean. I'm gonna read this real quick. All right, and this is showing some things, but it says in late August 2025, the United States began a military deployment in the Caribbean to combat drug trafficking. So America sent its military into the Caribbean, says, to combat drug trafficking, which the administration has described as a war on drugs against cartels designated as foreign terrorist organizations. The U.S. Navy and Air Force have conducted strikes against suspected drug smuggling vessels, with actions raising questions about legality and escalating tensions with some countries, particularly Venezuela. The military buildup is also seen by some as a strategy to weaken the Maduro regime in Venezuela. So America, has sent its military out there. They said to combat, drug trafficking and all of these things. Okay, and I mean, to be honest, with things that's going on in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if it's really for another reason. Okay, if it's for a deeper, sinister reason. This is Babylon the Great, man. All right, and we know who rules Babylon the Great, Esau. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a deeper reason behind why they're really down there. Okay, but I mean, they have the Navy out there. You hear about it. Okay. The rationale for U.S. presence, with the rationale, let's see what this means. It says a set of reasons or logical. Okay, so reasons for U.S. presence in the Caribbean, right? It says combating, because right now they're down there, right? It says combating, drug trafficking, counter Tism, weakening Venezuelan government. Some reports suggest a dual purpose for the military presence, including a strategy to weaken the government of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, whom the U.S. has accused of being a narco-trafficking kingpin. And I mean, if that's the case, it is, it is true that he's doing something wicked if that's the case. Okay. But nevertheless, it's things that have happened because of this. I'm going to read more of this. Key actions and developments, says naval buildup. The U.S. has deployed warships and aircraft carrier strike group and other assets to the Caribbean, creating the largest U.S. military presence in the region in decades. It says the U.S. military has conducted numerous airstrikes on suspected drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean and Pacific, resulting in significant casualties. You think they're gonna like America because of this? And that's a fact that they've done that. It says U.S. conducts 20th strike on alleged drug boat, killing 4 people in Caribbean Sea. This is U.S. confirms deadly attack in the Caribbean, 80 dead under Operation Southern Spear. Right? The 20th attack, not the first, not the second, not the third, the 20th. The U.S. reopens shuttered Puerto Rico naval base as Caribbean military buildup continues. 5 hours ago, U.S. to hold new military drills in Trinidad and Tobago amid tensions with Venezuela. The United States will hold new military drills in Trinidad and Tobago for 5 days starting Sunday, the Caribbean nation says. And you know what the scriptures say about this? This is Habakkuk chapter 2. Verse 4 says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he's a proud man. Here's the point. Neither keepeth at home. See? Because, Esau, all right, rules America. Look, he's all over the place. Okay, he's all around the world and including in the Caribbean. They have embassies around the world. They're in every day. They're always outside of where they're supposed to be. Okay. You know, this is breaking news. This just came up. You know. Let me finish some of this. Escalated tensions. It says these actions have increased tensions with Venezuela, which has mobilized its own forces to counter the U.S. presence. Other international partners, such as G7 allies, have also raised concerns about the legality of the strikes. You know, and these things, by the way. Well, I'm not gonna jump the gun, Salakia. Okay, but this is some recent news on it. You know, they recently struck some boats and everything out there. All right. You know, so America, is going at certain boats out there that they deem, is drug smuggling. Okay. Now another thing, this came out, says China sends hospital ship to Nicaragua, right? Now, let me read this from the Tico Times, right? It says today in Costa Rica, says China sends hospital ship to Nicaragua as U.S.-Venezuela standoff intensifies. A Chinese naval hospital ship has made its first stop in Nicaragua, marking a key moment in Beijing's outreach to Central America. The CNS Silk Road Arc arrived, that's the name of the boat, at the port of Corinto this week as part of a long-term mission to deliver medical aid across the region. Nicaraguan officials welcomed the vessel with a ceremony that included military personnel, highlighting the growing ties between the two nations. All right. So, China has, presence down there now. Now, if America does something to China, if something pops off from that, all right. I wanted to read this too. This came out November 4th, 2025. China, Iran, and Russia will intervene in Venezuela to threaten U.S. regional hegemony. All right. Which hegemony basically means dominance, leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over others. It says China, Iran, and Russia sent aid, capital, and arms through illicit trade networks to enable the Houthis attacks on Western merchants and warships transiting the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. They will do the same to aid Venezuela in a bid to challenge U.S. regional hegemony. The United States must counter the strategy by countering its means, illicit trade. If the U.S. Navy fails to counter illicit trade in the Caribbean, the nation will face the greatest threat in its hemisphere since 1958, when Nikita Khrushchev's R-12 nuclear missiles arrived in Cuba. All right, so let me read a little bit more. It says, in June 2025, U.S. Southern Command and U.S. Fourth Fleet began deploying warships to the Caribbean to defend the U.S. and its interests from Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's violent regime and subordinate transnational crime organizations like Tren de Aragua, Cartel de los Soles, and the Sinaloa Cartel. All right. So that's going on, right? And then so I looked it up to see if, Russia and Iran are really involved. And lo and behold, from Newsweek, November 12th, Russia ready to help Venezuelan military. America ain't really doing too much with Russia, man. It says Russia is ready to help Venezuela as the U.S. beefs up its military presence near the South American nation. Russia's foreign minister said, all right. It says Caracas and Moscow signed a strategic partnership in May. The Kremlin is ready to fully act within the framework of the obligations that are mutually stipulated in this agreement with our Venezuelan friends, Sergei Lavrov said in comments reported by Russian state media on Tuesday. All right. So this is, this even furthers the tensions between the bear and America, and the bear is Russia. And we know what role Russia plays in prophecy. Okay. Russia is going to be one of the main countries to shoot ICBMs on America. And the thing is, it's going to have to boil up to that point. You see, and this is what's going on right now. The Lord is boiling up the tensions between Babylon the Great and Russia. That's part of what's going on in the world. Okay? Let me get a scripture on that. This is Revelation 13:2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. And the bear, all right, is talking about Russia. And the feet is the end of a thing. Because Russia is going to be the end of the U.S. It's going to be that one of the main countries to end this place by its ICBMs. But the Lord, is ramping up the Lord is ramping up the tension. Okay, Isaiah 45:7. I from the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I Yahweh do all these things. See? Now I also looked up the thing with Iran and see if that was true. Iran presence in the Caribbean. And here from Wana News, it says, this came out November 15th, today, 2025, at 8:12 p.m. I guess it's 8:12 p.m. somewhere else. It says, Venezuela thanks Iran for warning on U.S. military moves. Venezuela's foreign minister has expressed gratitude to Iran for warning about the potential consequences of increased U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, calling it a threat to international peace and security, and praising Iran's support for Venezuela's national sovereignty. See, because them other countries, they know how they know that this place is evil. They know America is evil, man. Okay, they know America's evil. That's why they could warn other countries about it. It says in a message posted on his Telegram channel, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Evangel Pinto wrote, on behalf of President Nicolas Maduro, we sincerely thank the Islamic Republic of Iran for its warning regarding the expansion of U.S. military deployment in the Caribbean Sea and its consequences for our region. He added, we acknowledge Iran's unwavering solidarity with the Venezuelan people and its firm call for respecting our national sovereignty. This international support strengthens our commitment to defending the truth, our legitimate right to self-defense and efforts to achieve peace. Okay? Because according to reports, the U.S. Department of Defense, under the order of Donald Trump, has since September increased its military assets in the Caribbean, claiming the move is part of an anti-narcotics operation targeting foreign vessels in international waters. See? And the thing is, once again, neither keep it at home. If they are doing something, I mean, I can see, if it affects, I can see if it affects, America, and them, being out there. And ultimately, if that's the case, that's the Lord, causing things to happen. Okay? Because man's goings are of the Lord. All right? And the Lord, and the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Okay? And the Lord does all his pleasure. So, if that's the case, but if there's, really another reason, you could just see, look, that's a whole nother country. Why are you down there? Why are you in their business? For what? So, we could see how, a third world war is stirring up. Because all these countries and things getting tied in. This is one of the things that happened during World War I, man. Okay? This is some of the things that happened during World War I. Countries were, fighting over each other and over land. And, it was a lot of buildup. All right? And it came to a head. And eventually all this is going to come to a head. You see? So, I mean, it's a short lesson, but it says Venezuela between the great powers. It says, now I'm going to read this real quick. It says it came out 7 hours ago. It's not even letting me. All right, let me see. I don't know. I ain't going to do it. All right, but it says U.S. military escalations in Caribbean threaten international peace, Iran warns. Okay, and I mean, once again, this is also Matthew 24, when Yahweh Shai warned, verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So there you go. All right? You should hear of wars and rumors of wars. You're going to hear about wars going on, and you're going to hear about talks, wars, talking about to happen and things like that. Okay? So, I mean, it's not much, to go, but it's showing how, these things are amping up, man. All right? These things are amping up. So, Iran warns against U.S. military escalation in Caribbean. It's the world we're living in, and ultimately prophecy is going to be fulfilled. So, with that, I'm going to leave it at that. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that read well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect of Israel. Shalom to the elect.